Welcome to our special report on escalating tensions in the Middle East. Today, June 11th, 2025, the region teetered on the brink of conflict as U.S.-Iran nuclear talks hit a deadlock, prompting the United States to evacuate personnel from embassies and military bases across the region. From Baghdad to Bahrain, the situation is tense, with Iran issuing stark warnings and global markets reacting. Here's the full rundown. The U.S. State Department took decisive action today, ordering the evacuation of non-essential personnel from its embassy in Baghdad, Iraq, due to heightened security risks tied to deteriorating relations with Iran. The embassy, already operating with minimal staff, saw a small number of personnel leave, with the U.S. military on standby to assist if needed. Iraq's state news agency reported no specific threats, but the move underscores growing concerns. In Bahrain and Kuwait, the State Department authorized the voluntary departure of non-essential embassy staff and their families. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also greenlit the voluntary exit of military dependents, primarily Navy and Marine families in Bahrain, home to a major U.S. naval base. Operations at Qatar's Al Udeid Air Base, the largest U.S. military hub in the region, remain unaffected. These evacuations follow a broader U.S. directive ordering embassies within range of Iranian assets spanning the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Northern Africa to assess risks and report back to Washington. The moves signal a proactive response to fears of Iranian retaliation as nuclear talks falter. At the heart of today's tensions is the stalled U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations, aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. President Donald Trump, speaking on a podcast released today, expressed dwindling hope for a deal, saying he's less confident now than a couple of months ago due to Iran's delays. A sixth round of talks is tentatively set for June 15th in Oman, but U.S. officials warn they may not proceed. Iran, meanwhile, remains defiant. President Masoud Pezeshkian insisted Iran's nuclear program is peaceful, declaring, "We will not build a nuclear bomb," while defending uranium enrichment as a non-negotiable right. Tehran has rejected U.S. demands for zero enrichment and the dismantlement of its nuclear facilities. Adding fuel to the fire, Iran's defense minister Aziz Nasirzadeh issued a chilling warning today, vowing to target U.S. military bases in the region if talks collapse or if the U.S. or Israel strike Iran's nuclear sites. He boasted, "All its bases are within our reach," predicting heavy American losses in any conflict. Nasirzadeh also revealed Iran tested a missile last week with a 4,410-pound warhead, raising fears about its growing military capabilities. Iran also threatened Israel, with a senior official stating Tehran is prepared to launch hundreds of ballistic missiles in response to any Israeli attack. This follows Iran's October 2024 missile barrage on Israel, which caused minimal damage thanks to U.S. and Israeli defenses. Israel, a close U.S. ally, remains on high alert, with concerns it may strike Iran's nuclear facilities if talks fail. The ripple effects are being felt globally. Britain's Navy issued a warning to ships in the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and Strait of Hormuz, citing the risk of military escalation disrupting maritime traffic. Oil prices surged over 4% today, with Brent crude hitting $69.18 a barrel, as markets brace for potential disruptions to Middle East oil supplies. Complicating matters, the International Atomic Energy Agency is weighing a U.S. and European-backed resolution declaring Iran non-compliant with its nuclear safeguards. Iran has threatened to expand its nuclear program if the resolution passes, which could trigger efforts to restore UN sanctions under the 2015 nuclear deal's snapback mechanism. President Trump confirmed the U.S. evacuations, stating that personnel are being moved out of the Middle East because it could be a dangerous place. He reiterated a hardline stance, vowing that the U.S. will not allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, General Michael Kurilla, head of U.S. Central Command, postponed a Senate testimony scheduled for tomorrow, signaling the urgency of the crisis. On social media platform X, users have fueled speculation, with some claiming Iran conducted a nuclear test or launched cyber attacks. These reports remain unverified and are not supported by credible sources. Posts also noted heightened military activity in Bahrain, reflecting public unease, but viewers should approach such claims with caution. Today's developments unfold against a backdrop of regional instability, including 18 months of war in Gaza and Iran's efforts to rebuild its influence in Syria after the fall of the Assad regime last December. Iran's threats align with its axis of resistance strategy, leveraging proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas to counter U.S. and Israeli influence. The Middle East is at a critical juncture. The U.S. evacuations signal caution but also resolve, as Iran's rhetoric and military posturing raise the stakes. With nuclear talks hanging by a thread and the IAEA's decision looming, the coming days could shape the region's future. We'll continue to monitor this developing story. That's tonight's report. Stay with us for the latest updates. Good night.